We're going to talk about randomness today. I particularly want to talk about the random word string type commands, but I'm also open to talking about random numbers as well, because I think we're going to have to start on random numbers and then move on to random words as part of that. The end goal today is to come up with 3 different ways, maybe 4. The fourth one is the first one is the reason why I want to do this. We're going with 4 different ways to respond to a hello command in chat. So what you're looking for here is, somebody comes into chat, says hello, hi, hey, heya, what's up, what's good, something like that. And then you're going to have the bot respond with some random string, right? A random response. Now, there's a few ways to do it. Each one has its own pros and cons. And we're going to look at what's suitable for what. Now, remember that as we go through and do this, we're talking about this as an example, okay? So I'm going to use the hello as an example, but you can do this for basically anything, yeah? So you can use it to drive random games. It's the way that the 8-ball works. It's random anything. So I've got a command in Alexander the Dad's chat. Shout out to Alexander the Dad. If you're not following him, please do. He's great at tweaking PCs. Everybody here should know him. I have a command, or I had a command, I don't know if he's still got it, in Alex's chat. Bliss, one of his viewers, kept saying that he was the best viewer. And so he created a best viewer command, which just said Bliss. And then one day, I think it was April, as an April Fool's, I decided to turn that into a random thing so that every time somebody typed it, it would give a different response. So I made a list of the people in chat, and every time somebody ran the command, it spat one of the names out. Okay, it had more of a chance of spitting out the person's name who had said it, but not completely. So you can play about with things like that with randomness. And it's all, again, I use the word random, it's computer-generated pseudo-random. It's not the kind of thing you can use for cryptography or anything like that. You wouldn't use this for giveaways, for example, because it's probably not random enough. So yeah, you got to be careful with random in computers, because there is no such thing as random. Computers are predictable. It's what they feed their randomness from, what they seed it from, that matters. And the random on this probably isn't as well seeded as it needs to be if you're going to rely on it for something life-threatening like security. All right, so enough waffle. Let's get started. The problem that we're trying to solve. I created a hello command. So, and again, tell me if this is a bit too small or not. I'll try zooming it to 150 and we'll see how we go from there. All right. So the first command that I created, add.com, I created a command called hello. And what I wanted it to do was take this, which is a URL to a program online, PHP script, which will spit out a hello response. Okay, so if I was to go and hit this URL, what you'd find is it'll say something along the lines of, sorry, this can only be used by Nightbot. Okay, there we go. White screen, dark mode. So only Nightbot is allowed there. Okay, so the way that we use it is I've added a command called hello, and every time we type hello, it's going to come back with a response. You'll have seen this in my chat as well, and you'll have seen some of the responses, and you'll know why I don't like it, right? Because one of the responses that's in there comes back and it says, go away. Okay. Now remember, there's a 5-second there it is. There's a 5-second cooldown on Nightbot commands. So every time we type a command, we have to wait 5 seconds before we can type another command. Certainly for the same command, minimum cooldown is 5 seconds. So when we add com like this, I got a 5-second cooldown. So this is what bugged me, is I can't see the list from this bot. There's no documentation. I can't see what possible answers it could give. I have no control over the answers. It's just a black box. It's cool to have. Yeah, you just go and grab this URL or whatever this is. It returns a random response, and you can put whatever you want around that. Okay, but that's what we're trying to replace. So that's option 0. Okay, and a delcom that. And we'll talk about as well at some point later about how you can do this for multiple different words and things. So the first option we've got is probably it's the most built-in to Nightbot, but it relies on the eval command. And what we're going to do is build an array of different ways to say hello, different responses that we want the bot to reply with. And then we're going to use a random number to pick one of them. So probably first we should talk about random numbers. So there is a command. There are 2 things that we need to look at. Okay. There is a command called eval. Big white screen, sorry about that. Eval is built into Nightbot, and I'll put the URL in the chat for the documentation in case anybody wants to follow along. Eval is a variable that's used to evaluate JavaScript code. So you do $open bracket eval piece of JavaScript, close your bracket. Okay, it's nice and easy. So for example, as it gives here, eval 2 + 2 would return 4. Okay, so eval can do JavaScript. Now JavaScript isn't just numbers, but it's a bunch of things that you can return. Okay, here is exactly what we're looking for, kind of exactly what we're looking for. This example here is to create a random number between 1 and 100. Okay, so if we take that and we go and drop that into chat, that's going to add a command called random. And every time we run random, it's going to give us a different random number. Okay, and it's going to give us a random number between 1 and 95. Okay, how do I know it's going to be from 1 to 95? Well, that's because of the way that these math commands work here. Okay, so now we need to talk very briefly about math.random. Math.random returns a number that is equal to 0 or equal to 0 and less than 1. Okay, so that gives us from 0 all the way up to 0.999999999. Okay, and here's a demo that we can run that will show us some examples of how to use math.random. So the first one is trying to get a random number multiplied by 3. Okay, and that's going to give us, because of this math.floor, it's going to give us 0, 1, or 2. So let's do some experimentation here. Let's go first into the chat and let's create a command called R. Okay, and R is just going to use math.random to generate a number. So I run R and it gives me a number between 0 and less than 1. Okay, and every time I do it, it's going to give me a different number. Now this is a massive decimal, 0 point big decimal place number. All right, that's to what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 decimal places. Okay, so I've got some big random number. Great, but what we want is a number from 1 to 100. So how do we achieve that? Well, if we take this, I can now add a parameter, so R with an X on the end. I can now give X. X is going to be what we multiply random by. So if I multiply it by 1, then I'm just going to get a number between 0 and 1. If I give it 10, it's going to go 0 to 10. Okay, and if I give it 100, then it'll give me a number multiplied by 100. So you can see how by multiplying math.random by something, we can make the number bigger. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. But Bill, I don't like the decimal places. What's the decimal all about? Well, decimal is fixed by chopping off the end. So math.floor will take off anything after the decimal place. Okay, so if I take these from before and we take this number here, well, that's probably not a good one. This one here, 9 point, some great big number. Yeah, that's going to return 9. And if I take, this is the floor of the number. If I take this number here, it gives us a floor. So basically all we're doing is chopping off the decimal. Now you'll note there that we're not rounding up, we're not rounding, we're just chopping. Okay, it's not math.round, it's math.floor. So it's floor, it's taking the lower number from that decimal, the whole integer. So okay, by combining math.floor with math.random, we can now get a whole integer. So the way that we can look at that is we create this command, which you'll see. This is going to do floor with a number. So now I can say I want the floor of, I want to multiply this by, let's say 100. It give me a whole number less than the number that I specify after it. Okay, so if I want a 0 to 50, or I want it to 10, that cooled down. It was on cooldown there. Try that again. Okay, so I've got some control over the minimum and the maximum. Now then, if we want to generate a random number between two numbers, this is the expression that we use. Okay, we take the floor of the random number, which is that 0 point something, and we multiply that by our maximum number minus our minimum number plus 1 plus the minimum number that we started with. Okay? Bill, what are you talking about? Let's take this as an example here. This is, I was looking for some code, and this explains it pretty perfectly. Okay? So this guy says, we've got math.floor, math.random, multiplied by the minimum minus the maximum plus 1 plus the minimum. So if we want a range of numbers between 5 and 15, okay, if max is 15 and minimum is 5, then we plug the numbers in here, okay, and you can see that by simplifying this, math.random at the lowest end can become 0. So 0 times this is 0, plus 5 is 5. Okay? Hopefully everyone in the chat is good enough with the math that they can kind of follow that, right? So simplifying that, we can see that that's true. Then let's look at the other end of the scale, where math.random returns the highest possible value it can, 0 point shitloads of 9s. Okay? We get 0 point load of 9s. We multiply that by this, which is the 15 minus 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11. Okay, we then end up there with 10.999989 because multiplied by 11, and then we add the 5, which gives us 15.999999. Okay, and then we floor it, so we floor the 10, and there you go. Okay, so I think I've got everyone right. Simple enough math, hopefully. So you have to take, given all of that, you have to take the fact that this is the expression that we're going to use. So that gives us a random number. So now we want to add a command which is going to give us, you give it a range, and it gives you a random number between that range. Okay, so I'm going to do n for this one, and if I want n 1 to 100, I want to get that. Okay, if I want a random number between 80 and 90, that didn't work. Don't know why. Okay, let's do 1 and a large number. There you go. So you get the idea, right? So now, given that, we want to be able to build an array of greetings, and then we're going to use that math.random times the length of the array to come back with a number that gives us an index into the array. So simple enough. I need a list of greetings. Okay, so I've built here a list of greetings, and I'm going to put those somewhere in a bit. I'm going to put them into a paste bin. Okay, but we'll get that later. But here you go. I've got hello there, hi, how are you? Hey, what's up, yo, greetings, and so on. All right. So that's my array of words. The next thing I want to do is then put them into an array that can be used in a command. So if I do this, okay, that is our command. So I've got here adcom hello, and then it's going to do an eval looking at, this is our array R, and I've put in quotes of that, each one are words. If you've got an apostrophe and you're using the apostrophe as the separator or the quoting method, you need to backslash it to escape it. Okay. And then at the end of that, I then look up the R. So R is the array. And in that array, I want the element that is returned by that random times the length. Okay. So that's command number 1. So now we go, hello. It goes, what's good? Okay. And then hello. Stop. And so on. Okay. And it's not going through in any order. Yeah, there might be repetition. Yeah, but it's just given us a word. And it's only given us one word because that's what I put in here. But if I put more words in or I put something else, I can do that, right? The other thing that I could do is I could make it say the user's name as well. So as we learned last time, we've got $open bracket user, and we can put that anywhere. Well, we can put that into our phrases. So that's option 1. So the pros of that, okay, it's simple. It's completely self-contained within Nightbot. You can control what words you're putting in. So you just add more to the array if you want to add more greetings. G'day, Cozy. Let's put that in. If I want to change this, yeah, I can take the command and then I can add another one in. Let's put it at the bottom. Yeah, go. And if I do g'day, I have to put the backslash before the quote. Like that. Okay, and then we got a g'day, mate. All right. Yeah, there we go. So try saying hello, Cozy, in there if you're there. Okay, and it's spare random stuff. That's my fault because I typed it as well. That's the cooldown. Try again. So this is our array. Now, the pros of the array, the good things, completely self-contained, easy to modify if you're the owner of the Nightbot. You can go into your Nightbot dashboard, and if you're going here, yeah, I've now got all these commands that I've just made up. But in here, we can go in and we can add another element to our array, right? get out of here. Right? So we can put whatever we want. Yes, the cooldown, okay, cooldown is on 30. So let's update that. And here, okay, so I got that. Okay, in my Nightbot dashboard, I can edit that command. It's dead easy. The mods can edit it as well. They're the pros. The cons, if I want to add something, can't find it, why not? Should be there. The cons, if I want to add something to that array, then I have to edit the command and I have to know everything that's in the array already. Okay, if I'm a moderator, then I don't have visibility to that command. Okay, so if I do commands and then go and open that command list, if I was not the owner of the channel, which you're not, you will probably find that this just has like square brackets and it'll say eval. Okay, but because I'm logged in, it's giving me the list, and I can't do it in my other window because I'm still modded there anyway. But anyway, you will not be able to see it. So even as a moderator, you can't see it. It'd have to be a Nightbot editor to be able to see the command. So first of all, the con is I can't edit it. Okay, only the stream owner or a Nightbot manager can see what's there and edit that. So then you got the chance that multiple moderators might overwrite each other's changes because they can't see what was there before. You're going to have to keep an offline copy of it. You're going to have to keep that up to date in some way. It's just not, in the long term, it just doesn't work out that great. Okay, because nobody can see it. So then we move on, and I'm going to leave that command there for now so that we can still come back and look at that. But then we're going to talk about the next option, okay, which is a paste bin. Now, there's a website. I don't know if you know paste bin. We go to pastebin.com. Here we can create a new paste, and whatever we paste in here is going to be accessible on the internet. Okay, and it's publicly accessible. And here I can't make this private because I'm not logged in. Okay, but I could log in here and create an account. And then by creating an account, I can maintain the list. Okay, so let's do something. Let's say log in. Okay, and I need a username. So that's going to be billable. And I need a password. Go and generate a password. Do this in another window. Let's roll the dice. Take that. Hopefully you're still looking at the paste bin and not anything else. I need to create an account, that's why. It's the available email, password, agree. It's going to be billable at mailinnator.com. Okay, I can't see the captcha. 2x2v94. Let's do that. Okay, so we've now opened up an account. Go there, we're going to log in, we're going to go and have a look at the mailbox. There's our account registration. I'm going to register the account and our email has been confirmed. Okay, so now we've got a paste bin and we can update pastes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get my list of greetings. That's there. And I'm going to put them in this list. Now, For this one to work, we have to put semicolons at the end of every line, or anything. Doesn't matter, it can be a pipe symbol. Okay, but we have to have some delimiter at the end of each line, because when we fetch the paste bin, it's going to get the whole thing as one long string. Okay, so we need to be able to split that up into different sections. So I'm going to leave this as public, because I don't really care. Okay, I'll delete the account afterwards anyway. This can expire. I don't actually care when. We'll expire it in a week or something like that, so it goes away. Save space on the internet. And we don't need a photo, and this is just going to be called hello. Okay, so I create this new paste, and that gives us this URL. And there's a raw link here that I can copy. This is what we want, is this raw link. Okay, because we don't want the link of the page with the header and the sidebar and all of the HTML and all that stuff. We just want the raw content of this paste here. So we take the raw link. Okay, everybody's following. So back in the chat, we now have a paste bin link. Let me pop that in my notes. And then what we need to do is add a command. So this one I'm going to call hi. Okay, and the hi command is going to, again, use the eval. It's going to take our response array, or our response, and it's going to go and fetch that URL from the paste bin, the raw one. And then it's going to split that using the semicolon, and then it's going to return the random result of R. Okay, so now when we do hi, that should go out to paste bin, and it should come back with one response. Okay, check it's not broken and just giving us the first one every time. There we go. So feel free to test that one as well. If I do edit com I minus CD equals 5, that'll lower the cooldown for it as well. Okay, so have another go, because it was on cooldown of 30. So you play with that, have a go with that. Okay. The other thing that we can do is we've just put words in. Okay, but like I say, we could still want to put in somebody's username instead or as well. Okay, so in that case, we can edit it, and at the end of our response, we can put the $user. Okay, have a go now, Ari. So this is going to fetch that file, split it on semicolon, and return, put it into an array, R, and then return the random element of that array, and then it's going to add the user on the end. Okay, and again, if we really wanted to be clever, or like I do, you could put something else at the end, like the, you know, Simi, I like this one, that emoji. Okay. So then when we say hi, it gives the name and you get the fifth. Okay. When you're trying to put emotes into things, the user that uses the emote, so in this case it would be Nightbot trying to use the emote, must have permissions to use that emote. So if it's a Twitch global one, like hey guys, like that one, you could use that. I like the pound, I like the seems good. Yeah, so you can put any of these in, but what you can't do is use one of the, like mine, yeah? Because while Billable is a sub to me, Nightbot isn't. So unless, and again, this is Billable's account. So if we took this, okay, and then we swap, or we add, get out, onto the pound emote there. Is it going there? We do the bill high like that. Yeah. Then Nightbot doesn't have the sub, so it just spits out the name of the emote instead. What on earth is that? Kobe sexy. Yeah, okay. And again, if you did, well, you get the idea. So that's our high command, and that's using pastebin. Now, we're going to get really fancy here. Oh, before we get really fancy, let's talk about the pros and cons of that. Okay. Pros. If I own the pastebin, it's easy for me to go and edit that. Okay. So if I go back to the pastebin here, and I want to click edit, I can go and do that. And then in here, I can do my g'day, mate. Okay, semicolon. Got to put the semicolon on. Okay, and then I can save the changes, and then that's in the pool. So as I want to go and build up that pastebin, I can do more and more, and that's easy to maintain. I can go back, I can fix spelling mistakes, I can change things, add things, whatever. Yeah. But only I can do it. As I own the pastebin, nobody else can edit it. So I can't give that to my mods, or the VIPs, or the chat, or subs, or anybody else. There's only me that can use that as the streamer, or as the owner of the pastebin, actually. Anybody can use this raw if they want to. So if I copied this into my Bill the Surfer chat and made a command there, Bill the Surfer can use it because the paste was set up as public. But if I, and again, this is probably what that Rockbot thing does, right? He's built a list like this. He's got a PHP script that goes and grabs one of the results, and off we go. So what happens if I forget my pastebin password, or somebody goes and does a password reset on Mailinator, or, I've just shown this live on stream because this account, I don't care about this account, right? I've just created it. It's for this demo. I'm not going to use it again. Okay. So that's option 2. So only I can edit it, but it's quite flexible and it's okay. So let's now look at another one, and again, there, I managed to show you how to put users in. I could have done the same thing with the array as well. When we went back and did our hello array, we can have the same thing so that it can return the greeting and then put the username at the end. Okay, in the same way that we have done here. Okay, I'm going to show you one more way. And this way is more powerful, but also more complex. And you also have to take care because it's got tokens in it that are private. Okay, in the same vein as I've just done with pastebin, I'm going to be very transparent here. I want to show both of the tokens on the stream. And then after this demo, I'm going to ignore them and throw them away. I'll never use them again. Okay, so how do we do this one? This is using an API called twitch.center quote API. And I know we've just gone to an ad break, so sorry for those who are in ads. So the third option, I hope Matty's not in an ad. No, Matty won't be in an ad because he's a sub. Thank you, Matty. So the third option that we've got is Twitch Center. Now, so there's a website called twitch.center. And if you go there, you can see that there's a few tools there, but none of this is related to what we want. Okay, so you can ignore these. Yeah, it's got some cool, it's got a few little things, list all of the subs and do a slideshow and stuff like that. But this isn't going to help us because the thing that we're looking for is hidden. Okay, so they have a custom API called Quote, where you can go and generate some keys. Okay, I'll show them on screen because I don't care, I'm going to burn them, right? But anybody who's got a Twitch account can log in with their Twitch and can go and generate keys. Okay, and then what we do is we copy these keys. Okay, and then we throw that away. And I'm going to put these into a notepad so that I don't lose them. And then we're going to create some commands from them. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do, and I'm going to make sure that I don't mess this up, I'm going to delcom hi, and I'm going to delcom hello. It'll let me cool down, I think, there. All right, so we got rid of our commands. In fact, I can go in here just to make sure that we get rid of everything. Just going to delete these. Okay, so we clean up our dashboard, get rid of all our Nightbot commands, and we're back to square one. Okay, so now I have 3 URLs that you just saw on screen. The first URL is what you want to use to get the quote. Okay, so I'm going to do add.com hi, and that's going to fetch this URL with this token. This is the public token, so anybody can see this and it doesn't matter. And it's going to take a data string at the end. We'll come on to why in a minute. Okay, but for now, that's our hi command. Now, if we run that, it won't do anything. Okay, because we haven't loaded anything into the quote database. It's just come back with there are no quotes. So now we need an add command. Okay, so I'm going to call this one. And what you should do is when you're doing this for you and your stream, you should not paste these private tokens into chat, because then anybody can capture the chat, anyone can see the chat, anyone can go back, and anybody who's got your add or anyone who's got your private token can add, modify, delete anything that's on that queue. Okay, so you'll see as I paste this in, I'm going to add a command called add hi. Okay, and that's got our private token in it. Okay, and then we take a query string. Okay, now, yes, I don't want anybody using this. Please don't break it while we're doing the demo, but you can mess about with it later. The way that you do this, if you were doing it properly, is you would go into your Nightbot dashboard. You would say, add a new command. You would say, I'm going to do the del hi this way. And then you're going to take the token or the string that it gave you on that website, and you're going to put that in here. And you can see what this is doing. It's fetching this URL. This has got the delete endpoint. It's saying what list or what token is the private one to delete. And then you've got a string at the end. Again, we'll come back to the data string in a bit. The add and the delete, you should probably typically add at like a moderator level. I'm going to leave it at everyone for now so that we can all play with it. But you would normally lock this command down so that only moderators and possibly VIPs can do it. It's up to you. But now we have 3 commands. We have a hi, an add hi, and a delete hi. So now let's go and add hi, hello. Okay, what's that done? So that's just added 1 entry into this quote list. Okay, how do we know? Well, if we do hi list, then it'll give us a link. Oh, it wasn't an exclamation mark, was it? We do hi list. It'll give us this link, which will show us all of our token, everything in our list with this token. Okay, so let's go and do some more. So we've got hello. Let's add hi. Let's have a hi. That's going to give us number 2. If we go and have a look at that list, you can see that it's added 2. And so on. All right. So you can immediately see the downside of this one is that it's going to take us a little bit of time to get set up. So if we want to put all of those greetings in, Nightbot is going to have a 5-second cooldown. Yep. So if I do add hi greetings, that's going to give us a 3rd one. Do add hi salutations. That's going to give us a 4th one, and so on. I'm going to do 5, all right, just so that for the interest of time. Hey, Josa, how you doing, mate? We're doing the mod stream. So now you can see our list, and you can see that it's got numbers in front of it as well, right? So when I do a hi, it's going to come back and it's going to give me what I typed, but it's also going to tell me the number. Now, I don't want that number. Okay. So what we can do is in our hi command here, at the end of our link, let me find the bit that I need. We do no ID equals 1 on our link. Okay. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to put in and no ID equals 1. We update that. Then we go back to our hi. And now we get the word without the number. Good stuff. Let's talk about that after I've done this segment. So now we've got a list which has got multiple values. It's numbered. And I can specify in my hi command, I can specify various things. So if I just type hi, then it's going to return whatever the next greeting is. But I can also do some clever stuff with it, which maybe in this case I'm not going to use. But you can do it for, it's the way that the code command works in my chat, for example. I type !code as my code command. That goes off and it pulls back one of the random answers from this Twitch list, which is a list of codes. Now, I can also then do in my chat, I can do !code list, and it'll give me a link which has got the list of quotes. Okay, and you can see there that I've also got and no ID equals 1 on the end of it, so it's ignoring the IDs. And one of the good things about this is if I did something like hi greet, it will give me one of the results that matches that string. Okay. So in the case of the codes, I can do something like code Joser, and it will give me the result with his code. Or I could go in and I could say, and I want the code for Steph, and I can do it with that one. Okay, so I can, even though I'm not typing the whole code, I might not know it, I can go in and pick part of the string. Whatever I pass to the quote command, it's going to give me the result that contains that string. And that's what the query string is for. So as you see in here, we're passing query string. So that's whatever when the user calls the command, whatever they type after it is the data for that command and goes into there. Okay, so I've opened this up for everybody. You can use add hi to go and add your own greetings if you so wish. Now, what's the benefits of this one? Well, as you can see, I can change who can add stuff. So in the first one in the array, only a Nightbot manager can change it. In the second one, with the paste bin, only the paste bin owner can change it. In the quote system, anybody I want can change it. So all I need to do is give them, it's one of the command roles, right? So I can say in here, the only people who are allowed to add are VIPs. Or I can list my regulars who I trust. Or I can say, well, this might be something that I want to give to a subscriber. Or I can let everybody run it. Okay. There is obviously a danger there of making the add and delete commands available to everybody. But the normal command is fine. So the hi command I want to give to everybody because every time somebody comes in chat and says hi, I want them to execute this and I want it to return a greeting. Okay. And as we did before, I could also add something to the end of here that gives me the user as well. So this is bringing back the user, but then I could also do an eval and then do the URL fetch. Eval, URL fetch, all of that. I'm going to work out where my brackets go there. And then I can do plus the user. Something like that, maybe. and we can give that a try. That might work. I don't know. We haven't tried it. Give it a go. Nope. So I missed out something there. Let's have a look. Go back to my notes a second on this. I think it's because we do need that, which means we do need that. Let's try that. Nope, doesn't like that one either. But essentially I need to just tweak that command a little bit to make sure that I've got the right structure. I think maybe because if Al needs a bracket, what I need to do is go and have a look at mine instead. Oh, it's because I need this one. I need to put this into a response. R equals all of that. And then I need to do R plus a user. That might work better. Nope. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Yeah, let's take a look. Got our eval. That. So if I do just a quote somewhere. Maybe I'm just missing a quote. Oh, I've got too many quotes, I don't know. It's not defined. Oh, that's because did that this time. Okay, so that's working well. Then I need to replace the brackets. So we've got R equals that down to the quote there. Gives me that. Let's update that. Nope, still not. So all I've done is replace the Earl fetch in there. I'll fetch the morale. Two, three, two. Missing a bracket. Okay, so maybe it's a bracket issue, which means probably there. Try this. That's safe. Okay, well, I'm not going to mess about with it anymore. I've lost the patience now. I'd have to go off and play with the brackets and see why it's messing about. But ultimately what we want is the last one, which is this one. I lost the patience there. Nah, oh, and I need the no ID on that, don't I, as well? There we go. It's better. All right. So now we've got a command that we can manipulate from the command. So from the chat, from the command line, we can manipulate that. We can add things and delete things. We can allow other people to add and delete. We can change the format and wrap things around it. I know how I can find how I did it. Here's the, let me take this one. 1 second, make sure I got the right one. Yep, I got that one. So this is the one that I use for the codes for the inmine support creator code. This uses, so let's paste that into there. Then let's change the text. So this is the one, let me show you this. Let's cut that one out. This one is the one that I'm using for mine. So we take a parameter, $1. So if I pass in the name of somebody like Alex or Steph or Josa, then it stores that in the $1. And that's going to be the person or the parameter. Then my string is the hey guys emote, make sure you use a code blah, blah, blah. That's going to go all the way up to code something. Then we get the code C by doing the URL fetch from that URL. And then if the parameter that we passed in was the word list, then we're going to say list of supporter codes, and then we're going to put the list out. And if it's not list, then we're going to put out the string and the creator code. Okay, so to reverse the logic of this, I'm going to make S the user. This will help me. So this is going to be the user. And then instead of doing, so this is going to be the list of greetings. Okay, and then I will leave that in so it's clear. And then what I want is, I want to print out if we do list, then you want the list of the greetings plus the C. Otherwise, I want C, our greeting, plus our user, which is S, plus our symbol. Okay. And then what I can also do is make sure that we've got spacing in there as well. So that should work. Let's try that. So now, there you go. Should have done that in the first place rather than trying to rework it, because I did it all for the code one already, so I know it works. Okay. So what we end up with there is this as our code. I don't know what, edit com hi minus cd equals 5. Right, give it 5 seconds and try again, Ari. But that's what we end up with. And I know it's a little bit complex, but that's what we end up with for our greetings. And then if we do hi list, that'll give us a list of our greetings then. Okay, and I can pop that in the chat for everybody on my side. And then all we really need to manage then is that token that's in there. So you can go to the generate page and you can generate your own tokens, and then you build that into your own commands. Okay, again, there's the generate one. So you log in with Twitch, you generate three, it gives you 3 links. It'll give you the first link is the quote one. So what is it that you want to, that's the one that you want to put with the command that you're going to use in the chat. And then you've got an add and a delete, which have private tokens, which you should never put into chat. You should add them through your Nightbot dashboard. And that, because that allows anybody else to manipulate your list. Okay. And that's essentially it. So again, like I say, pros and cons of that one. Main one is that anybody can add anything. So you can get your moderators or your VIPs to manage the list. Really, it's down to you to define what the limits of that are, because it allows you to put anything at all in there, right? We've done a hello as an example. You can see from my chat that I've got the code one as another example of how I've built this. So I've got add code and del code commands. So if I wanted to add code Bill to the list, yeah, then I can just do add code Bill. And if I want to del code Bill, then I can remove Bill from the list. Okay. Now, if you think about it, if something is on the list multiple times, it has a higher chance of being picked from the random list. Okay. So if you think, if you had a list that had 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, then you have 10 values on that list. We have a 4 in 10 chance of it being a 1, a 3 in 10 chance of it being a 2, a 2 in 10 chance of it being a 3, and a 1 in 10 chance of it being a 4. You can use that logic to rig things, basically. So you can, if I was to add those to a list, yeah, and you can do that with the array, you can do that with the paste bin, you do that with the quotes, the Twitch Center quotes. But by putting the thing on the list multiple times is a way of making sure that it's rigged or leans or whatever. Okay. And that introduces chance as well as randomness. Okay. So if you wanted to, and again, you can do loads of things with this, right? You can have it, instead of just putting one URL in the command, you can put 2 URLs in the command and get it to return 2 results. Yeah. If you wanted to do something like die, if you've got 2 die, you're playing a game and you wanted to throw random die, but you wanted to do 2, then you can use this for that. You 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in your list or whatever. If you've got a D20, then you need to go to 20 in your array. If the die is weighted in some way so that it's more likely to fall on one side than another, then you can do this technique to put weighting on there. Yeah, there's so many things that you can use this for. It's really limited to your imagination. If you think of any ideas of what to use it for, let me know. I think Pastebin is the easiest to use, but Nightbot the best. Yeah, and it depends what access you want to give. It's really down to the access. I like the Twitch Center quote thing, but it's the most complex to set up, but it gives you the most flexibility over who can do what with the results. You don't need the semicolons on the end because it knows to pick a line. So if you've got something like, and the other thing that we did here, we didn't talk about the number thing, right? So I did no ID equals 1 because I didn't want the numbers in the greetings, but you might want the numbers in the greetings and you might want to use those. The other thing that you can do with this is you can pass a number to it and it will give you that entry back. So if I said hi 1, it will give me the hello, and it'll do that every time. If I did let's look at the list. So I got 5, right? So 5 is what's good. So if I did high 5, it would give me the 5th one. What's good? Okay, so you could tell a story with that. Yeah, you could tell a story. You could have a counter which tells you the number of times that you've run the command, okay, which is $count, and then you could have it bring back the count result, okay, using that URL fetch. So all you're doing there is, because we have query string in there already, okay, so if you pass in data is 1, that's giving us the first one back. So if we pass in a count, so if we do edit com, actually let's not edit com from here, let's do it from here. We edit the high command from here. We can get a counter from Nightbot. So let's say Z. Okay, Z equals our $count. Put that in backticks to quote it. So Z is our counter. And then in our data here, instead of bringing in query string, okay, I can bring in Z. I've got to think about how to do data equals. Is it $Z? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm getting tired now and I'm not thinking straight. But you can pass in a number into it from the count. So if we did, in fact, let's make this even easier. Because I am actually going stupid here doing this. Let's change that to count instead of query string. Okay, and then this, when we edit it now, should give us a count number. So count is 0 at the moment. So now when we do it, we do high, that should pass in the 1. Okay, so there's hello, that's 1. Okay, we do high, it's going to give us high, that's number 2. The next one it gives us is going to be greetings, because that's number 3. The next one it gives us is going to be salutations. It's 4. And if I go in here and refresh this and go and look at the command again, you can see the counter's going up. Yeah. So you could imagine something like, and I've seen this done, you put onto here the story. Okay. Every line is the next sentence in the story. And you have a story command, !story, which spits out the next line of the story. And at the end of the story, then you have to reset the counter if you want to do the story again. Okay. I've seen that done. Forget who had that, but I've seen that done.